A powerful literary storm front is sweeping across BookTube. Reports are coming in of emotional downpours, metaphorical flooding, and entire TBR shelves collapsing under the pressure. This system appears to have originated with Michelle over at Literary Me, who first named the storm. Sui confirmed escalating conditions, citing landslides, dust storms, and emotional whiplash. Alan, he's issued a full wildfire advisory. And broadcasting from a frozen substation, Stuart, whose first-hand account of blizzard chaos and boiler-based terror gave us a literal chill. We are now officially under a BookTube weather emergency. Let's begin with the forecast. How do extreme weather events, your hurricanes, your tornadoes, your blizzards, shape the plot of a book? The answer? They don't just shape the plot, they are the plot. Think of it this way. If you've got a solid man versus man conflict brewing, a natural disaster's like the universe saying, "You two, you need therapy." But first, let's try survival. It ups the stakes, it creates forced proximity, and sometimes it even makes the enemy share a blanket. Iconic. But then there's man versus nature, and that's where things get existential. It's not just about what the character wants, it's about whether they'll make it to page 200 alive. Weather isn't background, it's the unspeaking antagonist. And when done well, it changes everything. Now let's go to our remote bureau in the Arctic Circle, where conditions remain cold, isolating, and emotionally layered, where Nick will talk about a book that features extreme weather. Thanks, Nick. I'm here in the Arctic Circle and definitely not in front of a green screen in late July, covered in wool for the sake of shtick. This is The End of Drum Time by Hanna Pilavnin. And yes, there's weather, but don't let the snow fool you. You're not getting a blizzard plot twist and a warm hug at the end of this one. What's actually happening is a full-on theological frostquake. Set in the early 1800s among the Sami people of northern Scandinavia, the novel follows a Lutheran pastor and his daughter as they clash quietly, painfully, with a community of Sami reindeer herders whose lives are ruled not by doctrine, but by landscape. Think sleds, survival, and spiritual whiplash. This book is about motion and stillness, about belief and instinct, about trying to carry your past without sinking into it like snow too deep for walking. It's stunning and slow and, yes, a little devastating. But there's also music, longing, tenderness. You will think about these characters for days. You might cry. You will definitely Google how cold is too cold for Reindeer. It's not a book to race through, it's a book to live in, preferably with tea, and ideally while sitting near a window that lets you feel just cold enough to think you've joined them. Also, fair warning, this is the kind of literary weather event that rearranges your emotional furniture. You've been warned. Back to you, Nick. Thanks, Nick. Conditions here on the ground in Nebraska are, in a word, intense. This is the first place I've ever lived where a tornado actually touched down. And let me tell you, that's a very different plot twist than a snow day. The sky goes green, the sirens start, and suddenly you're Googling, is my basement structurally sound, while clutching a half-eaten sandwich and a stack of library books. We've had ice storms, power outages, hail that sounds like it's coming for vengeance. But it's the wind here that gets me. There's a line in the picture book Tulip Sees America that says, "There are no winds like Nebraska's." And that, dear viewers, is not an exaggeration. That is meteorological gospel. 5 years in and I still flinch every time the sky shifts. But it's also kind of poetic. Weather here demands your attention. It's humbling and occasionally terrifying. We've just received updates from the suburbs of Iowa where volcanic activity continues to disrupt lives and plot lines. Ashfall by Mike Mullen is technically a YA dystopian novel, but don't let the category fool you. This book, it hits hard. It's built around a what-if scenario that's actually terrifyingly plausible. What happens if the supervolcano under Yellowstone erupts? Enter Alex, 15, independent, not particularly outdoorsy, and now trying to survive in a world that's gone full apocalypse. The sun, it's gone. Ash falls like snow, and roads, impassable. And people, not always helpful. The emotional stakes escalate fast. I have a soft spot for this one. Mike's wife Margaret and I went to grad school together, so I read Ashfall right when it came out. And what stuck with me, besides the gripping survival elements, was Alex's evolution. He's not a natural hero, he doesn't have special skills, he just learns. One mistake at a time. And it's that slow, gritty growth that makes him unforgettable. There are 2 sequels, so if you like your disasters long-term and your protagonists stubbornly scrappy, the Ashfall trilogy delivers. And hey, if the supervolcano ever does erupt, you'll be glad you read the manual. Here's an evacuation scenario. Sirens are blaring. You've got 5 minutes to leave. What do you take? Your emergency go-to bag is essential in the case of a disaster, and it's important to have a plan. Now, Sui said she'd grab her Marcus Sedgwick books, plus sentimental copies of Where the Red Fern Grows, heirlooms from grandparents. Alan, meanwhile, is grabbing his Kindle and a charger because he's efficient and possibly British to his core. And Stuart, he's bringing Dracula, The War of the Worlds, and the Vampire Lestat, books he's read multiple times and still loves. That's not a go bag, that's a Gothic power move. But me, I'm packing chaos. I take the book I'm currently reading, the other book I'm also currently reading but pretending I'm not, and the book I've been saving for the perfect moment, which in this case is apparently a natural disaster. Because here's the thing, I'm not picking books based on genre, theme, or utility. I'm picking based upon urgency, emotional need, bookish triage. Will any of those books calm me during an evacuation? Unlikely, but will they keep me from pacing a hotel room or yelling at a news app? Possibly. And that's what matters. But what if I wasn't packing an emergency bag and were writing a novel instead and had to choose between hurricane, tornado, wildfire, or blizzard? This one's easy, folks. Blizzard. Blizzard all the way. Tornadoes are over too fast. Hurricanes leave wreckage but little time for reflection. Wildfires burn everything down, physically and emotionally. But a blizzard? A blizzard traps you. A blizzard slows everything to a crawl. A blizzard freezes tension into something sharp and still. That's why The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley works so well. You've got old college friends gathering at a remote lodge in the Scottish Highlands. Think stone walls, animal heads, unresolved trauma, and then the snow sets in. The isolation is immediate. The resentment? Already there. Someone's going to die, and it's not just a matter of who, it's when. And who's gonna snap first. If you want that locked room mystery meets glacial character unraveling energy, that's the one for you. So let's turn it over to Nick for the 7-day TBR forecast. Thanks, Nick. We've got a slow-moving front of emotionally fraught fiction and the kind of literary humidity that fogs up your glasses. Here's your 7-day TBR forecast. On day 1, we've got What Now, Little Man by Hans Fallada, a bleak but intimate pressure system incoming. This one's about the crushing economic hardship of post-war Germany, equal parts heartbreak and human resilience. Expect gray skies and moral weathering. On day 2, we're seeing A Ladder to the Sky by John Boyne. High winds of ambition swirl in this one. A morally bankrupt writer climbs to literary fame on the backs of other people's stories. The forecast? Cold-blooded manipulation with a 100% chance of schadenfreude. On day 3, we'll find Foxglove Summer by Ben Aronovich. Misty magic with some clear skies of wit. This one's a bit lighter, an urban fantasy detective on rural assignment. It's strange, sharp, and atmospheric. Watch for unexpected face storms. And on day 4, we'll have Go, Went, Gone by Jenny Erpenbeck. Quiet winds, steady ache. A retired professor becomes entangled in the lives of African refugees in Berlin. This one's thoughtful, political, and slow building like a philosophical cold front. And on day 5, Happy All the Time by Laurie Colwin. Clear skies, deceptively still. It's soft, smart, and full of low-stakes emotional weather. For those who like their literary atmospheres cozy, but not shallow. You'll get your serotonin. Eventually. Day 6, The Fortnight in September by R.C. Sheriff. Nostalgia fog rolling in. A quiet English family's annual seaside vacation becomes a meditation on time, habit, and joy in the ordinary. Gentle breezes, but they'll get under your skin. And last but not least, on day 7, The Buddha in the Attic by Julie Otsuka. Dense, lyrical cloud cover. This collective narrative traces Japanese picture brides in America with poetic compression. The weather here is stunning, but it sneaks up on you. So no, there's no official storm warning, but if you think I'm making it through this lineup without at least one emotional crisis, you haven't seen me read during atmospheric pressure drops. Somewhere out there in my TBR, a fictional blizzard is already forming, and I'm probably making tea about it. Back to you, Nick. Thanks, Nick. That concludes our live coverage of the BookTube weather emergency. The skies may be clearing, but narrative conditions remain volatile. Keep your bookmarks close. And special thanks to Sui, Alan, and Stuart for tagging me in. Your reports were the calm before the storm, and I'm honored to be your slightly more chaotic affiliate. But now it's your turn. If you're watching this and feel inspired, consider this your on-air invitation. What's the weather like in your reading world? Hurricanes? Dust storms? Maybe an inconvenient emotional drizzle? Grab the prompts, check the forecast, and report live from your own TBR zone. Until then, I'm Nick. This has been an emergency broadcast from Dr. Cranky Pants Reads. And remember, when the plot thickens, bring snacks and maybe a blanket.